Hey guys, DL Group 5 here, and today we are discussing the role social media plays in unmarketing. Social media can be used as a powerful tool in a business, but could also be the demise of its strong reputation. This all is determined by how your company handles its online presence. If you want your social platforms to relay the right message to your audience, then you must post consistently, not overwhelmingly, relevant to your brand, image, company. And most importantly, you must communicate with your followers. This makes them feel valued, important, and heard. So let's look at a Facebook that checks all these boxes. So this is a restaurant from my hometown called Hog Heaven Barbecue. They just post pictures of their product, which is delicious food. They post like once or twice a day. They show like their daily lunch specials, what they're cooking. They'll post like a funny picture every now and then, but it's completely relevant to their page, and they definitely have a theme of locals eating good food, coming together in a sort of mom and pop kind of environment, just good old southern barbecue. And they only post about once or twice a day with relevant content. Now let's check out a Facebook that needs some work, to say the least. So this is a car dealership also in my hometown. So they're posting that they sell cars, people buy cars, more people buy cars. Oh, they also sell cars, and they like to put irrelevant quotes. More, we sell cars, people buy cars. Another dumb quote. Oh, this one's a good one. Since when do used car dealerships give life advice? They're just trying to sell. They're not trying to put anything of quality on their page. Also, I thought I would mention that they posted 24 times within 3 days. You should really post once or twice a day at the very most.
There's a saying that says, no one knows how much you know until they know how much you care. So you can try your best not to do any of these sins, or again, the author mentioned that it's okay to have one. He mentions it under the prod section. You can break one and be fine, but to really show how much you care, again, we're trying to bring back in those concepts that we've already learned before. So you need to commit to being transparent and being generous, and most importantly, again, the connection. I can't stress that enough. You need to be authentic and create something worth of value to your audience. So don't just put something out there just to put it out there. Or again, don't just jump on the bandwagon because it's a trend or a popular fad that's going through right now. In order to get the highest return on your investment, again, you need to create that value. And by doing this, you're connecting with those short-term, turning them into long-term relationships, or further building onto your long-term relationships. It's not the initial start that matters. Most people think just because they have a platform or they've created a profile that they're done, that they've jumped over that barrier of being the company and connecting with your audience. But that's not the case. It's not the initial start, but it's the conversation that matters afterwards. So again, it takes time to build this conversation and build this relationship. Again, you're not sending someone a friend request, or they're not accepting a friend request just to give you business. Friend equals relationship. You're not just doing 1,000 tweets to build your reputation just because. You're doing this because it builds that relationship. Everything you do is about building that long term. And with these 7 deadly sins, if you're doing all of them or some of them, they can get in the way of breaking that barrier down between your audience and you as a company or individual.
In this technologically dominated age, the problem is no longer if a company is willing to jump into the world of social media. It's more of, are they using their social media pages to their full potential, and if they're using the appropriate platform. In other words, if your target market is mostly on Snapchat, then you need to get on Snapchat. If your target market, most of them don't have Facebook at all, there's no need to get a Facebook. In fact, there are some cases where social media in its entirety is not necessary. For example, business to business companies like wholesalers who sell to retailers, there's no reason for them to have a Facebook or any sort of social media page because they're really not marketing to anyone. Another example, Apple, they actually have a Twitter, but they have never posted even one tweet. And you know why? Because they don't have to. Why waste time? Why waste money? People are going to buy their products anyway. All right, guys, so I've got a question for you. I don't want you to answer it just yet, but I am going to ask again later, so try to think of an answer. What are some factors businesses should consider when finding the right social media platform?
So, why are companies using social media incorrectly? Well, it's kind of obvious. It's really that social media is still relatively new. People are making it up as they go. And along with this, because people are making it up as they go, they're also making the same mistakes as they go as well.
Companies often misuse social media because they are focusing on the word media. Media meaning something to push out their name or their product. They're thinking of social media more of like a TV commercial or an ad in a magazine, but whenever they think of it this way, are ignoring the most important word of the term, social. Social meaning conversing or communicating with two or more parties. So social media is a convenient outlet for consumers to voice their opinion directly to the business. How and if these companies respond is just as important as posting content of quality. If you say you don't have time to respond, that's essentially meaning you don't have time for your customers. If a customer voices his or her opinion and the company ignores it, there's a potential for word of mouth marketing can work against your favor. You can find plenty of angry tweets to prove this. And to elaborate on word of mouth marketing, it means one person has one experience at an establishment, goes home, tells grandma, tells grandpa. Grandpa tells all his friends at the barbershop. Grandma tells all her friends at the mall. And then all those people tell their friends and their family members. And all these people have an opinion of this establishment because of the original person who had the experience.
Any publicity is good publicity, right? Perhaps not. In 2003, actress Barbra Streisand noticed that an aerial photo of her mansion in Malibu, Florida had been uploaded and viewed a whopping 6 times. Unable to accept this abhorrent affront on her privacy, she took the only logical route possible and sued the photographer for $50 million. As a result of this, the photo of her mansion went from having 6 views to over 420,000. In an attempt to prevent the prying eyes of the public from prohibiting her privacy, she caused an avalanche of publicity that soon was dubbed the Streisand effect. I know what you're thinking. How does this relate to marketing? Let's look at it in context. It's easy to find misguided or inappropriate advertising campaigns online. It only takes a simple search of Streisand effect in marketing to show up dozens of results. And oftentimes, the companies that publish the campaigns then scramble to sweep them under the rug upon realizing that mistakes were made. This leaves them with an even bigger PR mess than they would have had before. If you want more examples, check out chapter 16 in the book. The power of the Streisand effect illustrates how the emergence of social media has made word of mouth spread quicker and further than ever. With a click of a button, anything can be shared with anyone around the world. This creates both opportunities and potential challenges for marketers. Now, what are some other ways that social networking relates to word-of-mouth behavior? Keep them in mind for the discussion to follow.
Hey guys, I hope you all are doing really well, especially during these times. I know it's been a little adjustment period for us to find our footing with this new class format, but I think we're all doing really well and we're going to do what it takes to be successful. So I'm so happy I can be here with you guys today, and I want to talk a little bit about the different categories of social media and the stages that it takes to build a successful platform. So first off, we have the 3 categories of social media, and that is category 1 is conversational social media. This is Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Facebook is more about relevant information. Twitter is where you can go to vent your frustrations or do like live event updates, things like that. Like if your favorite team wins the Super Bowl, you're going to go send a little tweet and brag a little bit, and that's okay. And then LinkedIn, it's not really a place for you to be social. It's more for you to find a certain type of person, like a specific person. Maybe like an example would be if I went on LinkedIn looking for maybe sales rep from a healthcare marketing firm or something like that. It's where you find targeted individuals. And then you have visual social media. That is the second type of social media, and that's Instagram and Pinterest. It's kind of where you can share pictures and little stories or captions under that, or Pinterest, even how to do things. And then you have dark social media. That is your private one-on-one conversations, and these are done through apps such as Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, the Kick app, or the WhatsApp. And so everybody can use all three types of social media that are described in our book. I mean, I know I do. I use a little bit from every one. I have like an app from every one of those categories. So I think it's a personal preference. I think we all use one from each of those categories though. So it's great to think about it like that.
In chapter 23, which is called Dominoes, Word of Mouth. Mouths are moving. We read about the account of Amy Revere-Corinne, a dissatisfied Domino's customer that relied on Domino's to make her life a bit easier, but Domino's fell short. Domino's not only got her order wrong, even though their ordering process is seamless, but also delivered her pizzas much later than expected. Instead of calling the local store, she tweeted about the incident, like many of us do, and to her surprise, Domino's, who's represented by Ramon DeLeon, who owns many stores around, went above and beyond to right their wrongs. Not only did both store managers record a 2.5-minute apology video, but they also gave her a dozen roses and a personal pizza at a public event. Ramon took what had been a detrimental situation and turned it into a positive because he quickly acknowledged Amy, owned the mistake, and made sure she got an apology. He was on top of his company's social media presence, and it shows. There are many tools that marketers and business owners can use to stay on top of their social media presence. Some of these tools, like Google Alerts, find keywords like a company name and keep a log of how it was mentioned. Many businesses can learn from this example and use such tools to make sure that they stay in good standing with their customers. Other platforms can even be used for surveys, feedback, and direct messaging to and from customers. How do you think social media can be used to improve responsiveness to customers?
If you're not open to conversation, then why be in a place where it's expected? Communicating with your customers gives you a return on relationships, and its measure is priceless. Relationships are a commodity for success. Let's take a second to compare these relationships to something else we find value in: money. You can't go to the bank and withdraw money that isn't there. It doesn't exist yet. You haven't earned it. Just like you can't market to people who have no trust in you or your company. No one is going to care about your company until your company has proven to care about them, the customer.
In this segment, I'd like to talk to you about return on investment in social media. At this point, we should all understand the importance of utilizing social media as a part of our unmarketing strategy. Social media is the #1 tool for customer engagement, and value created by using it properly can far outweigh the costs of doing so. So let's use our imagination and pretend that we aren't graduating into a recession and you land a job running the social media accounts of a retail chain. You've trained for this. Under Dr. Foster's expert tutelage, you are fully equipped to take on being an adult with a real job. This retail chain has decided that they want to invest in meeting customer service needs over social media so that they can become more engaged with customers and start building better relationships. On your first day, you see a tweet from a disgruntled customer complaining that they weren't happy with their purchase. Let's review 3 possible options that you could take in response to this customer's public complaint. Option A, do nothing. Simply ignore the customer and hope they go away. Option B, Engage with the customer. Be sure to let them know that their problem sounds like a personal one and they should be more diligent when shopping next time. Option C. Engage with them positively. Ask them about their experience and how we could do better next time. Maybe there's something we can offer now to make it right. Which of these three options do you think would yield the best return on investment for social media engagement? If you guessed A or B, go straight to jail, do not pass go, and do not collect $200. If you chose C, congrats, you're a pro unmarketing. Let's talk about why option C was the correct way to go. This ties back into social media as word of mouth. If you provide the customer with a bad response or no response at all on a public forum, not only is your interaction out in the open, but that former customer is almost assuredly going to let their followers know what a terrible establishment it is. This negative response is technically a return on investment, but is certainly not one that you want. In contrast, if you create a positive experience for that customer, it's out there for the world to see, and the next time someone wants to make a purchase, they'll remember how great your company is at customer relations. With all of these things in mind, think about why so many companies seem to be using social media incorrectly, how it is they're doing so, and how might they do better. Keep these things in mind for the discussion to follow.
As mentioned before, there are many tools that marketers and businesses can use with social media to manage relationships with customers. Tools like Radiano can be used to listen to, measure, and engage with customers across all platforms. Have you ever filled out a survey on Instagram or Facebook? Surveys are a good example of a simple but effective tool that can be used to gather feedback on things customers like and what a business can improve on. Others allow their clientele to direct message or even post their accounts to ensure that customers are satisfied and track progress. While these are all great methods to use and relate to hear from a client base, no one will be successful without attentiveness. As chapter 23 says, not listening and then acting on social media is like not showing up at all. As long as all these tools are used properly and feedback is coveted, then responded to in a timely manner, businesses can greatly prosper from using social media.
What it takes to build a successful platform. There's 3 stages described in our book, and the first one is traction. This is where you are building new relationships and you're trying to gain a following of individuals. And so I think what's most important during this first stage is that you don't overwhelm yourself. You can't use every single site, especially if you're a new business, or promote a new product or service. You're not going to have any following, and so you're going to have to build trust with customers to get a following. And so during this phase, it's really important to remember it may not happen if you try to do everything at one time. You need to take it slow and trust the process. So once you do start seeing some rewards from this networking that you've done in phase 1, that is called phase 2, and it's momentum. And this is where you're actually going to build on those current relationships. You want to enhance them, and that's where your main focus is going to be. It's more about engagement than it is gaining a following, since you've already done that. And I think it's really important to remember in every single stage that you need to be consistent. Consistency is key to building any good business or any type of relationship with a client. And so after you have enhanced your relationships, you will expand. And expansion is where you may join more than one site. You may expand your message or your service or your product. You may start promoting on more than just Facebook or Instagram. You'll do 2 or 3 different social sites. And so it's super important to remember that no matter what, you need to be consistent and don't overwhelm yourself. And it's really important to remember to listen to your customers, see what they like, see how they like your message relayed. And so finally, I want to tell y'all a little bit about an example of these 3 stages for building a platform. So I have a lot of friends on Facebook that have recently been going into like selling products like Roden and Fields or lip scents or Scentsy candles, whatever it may be. And so for me, my fiance's aunt, she has just recently started doing vinyl, and so she started out on her personal Facebook. And then when her following got a little too big, she actually did make a Facebook page just for the business. And so after she started getting customers coming in and she started building those relationships, she actually does now have a Instagram page for their business. She's on Facebook. She does business cards and things like that. So it's really important to remember that it happens at different times for everybody. One business may move faster than yours, but don't get discouraged. I think that's the main point here is you can do anything anybody can do anything if they put their head to it. So those are the 3 stages of building a successful platform, and those are traction, momentum, and expansion. And I think through all of that, the most important thing is individuals don't need to get overwhelmed, and they need to be consistent with their message to their customers. And so I'm going to leave y'all with this question, and I would love to hear some discussion about it. How do marketers build their platform? And why do they build a platform? Thank you guys so much.
Talk about the 7 deadly social media sins. I have this little visual. It was something that you could use as a reference for studying in the future, or just to get like a visual along with it. Your version will have fill in the blanks. The first one we're going to talk about is greed. With greed, this is wanting it all with no regard for anything else. This is all about your mentality, what you think is ethnically right or wrong. It's really your entire mindset and what you are willing to do to benefit yourself. So with this, the chapter, he discusses Twitter. In a lot of cases, you'll see people, they mainly just retweet about themselves. They'll retweet stuff that has them in it. It's really just kind of a bragging right in a sense. And then with Facebook, it's excessive posting or tagging on other people's walls. It becomes to where a point where you forget about the relationship. So he mentions in the book that people don't become your friend on these platforms just to give you business. Instead, you're supposed to engage with them. So for your box, it says, "We are awesome, as is this sale for greed." And with this, it's not. So by saying we are awesome, it's okay to brag about yourself every now and then, but there becomes a point to where you go over that line, and you tend to forget what your intentions are. And by saying as is this sale, you're recognizing that only your sale is right, and that you're trying to do anything and everything you can to get as many sales. This is how gluttony comes into play. So with gluttony, it is habitual greed. You are trying to get followers as fast as you can, and you're only in it for the numbers. Your audience, they don't feel that warm and fuzzy feeling of the connection that should be there with the relationship. And a lot of people think that because you're trying to get all of these followers and you're trying to be the first or the top tier of everything, that it's a popularity contest, but it's not. This is a way to connect with people. You're supposed to take your time, build your list, connect with those people on your list. And yes, it might be a smaller list than what you were planning for, but this list can turn into a longer list. And it's also building your long-term relationships. You're wanting that quality over quantity. So with gluttony, your box says, "We'll stuff everyone's feeds with spam." For you, you just fill out gluttony. But this, when I think of it, I think of emails, and automatically have spam email that just goes to my trash box. I don't even look. And people think by doing these repetitive actions of like doing the same things, of sending out all of this or trying to do these methods to get the most of this, that they're reaching their audience when they're really not. So with sloth, you're wanting it all, but you're too lazy to do what it takes. So, with this, the main thing in the chapter, he discusses being active and responsive to people's requests. There's a difference between being present and then having a presence. So, for me, for example, I just have a presence on Facebook. I don't really use it that much. I hardly get on it at all besides for this class. That's me having a presence. Am I being present? Not really. Being present, you're supposed to show effort and stay current with your audience. This requires time and effort, but it you don't have to spend too much time. He mentions in the book that most people think to do this, you have to spend 5 hours, 6 hours a day just trying to engage your audience on your platforms. But you really don't. You can spend 45 minutes a day on there, and it'll be better than doing 45 minutes just for 1 week or 45 minutes for a month or just anything. Just having short little time periods that you have set up is better than anything because it shows that you have a schedule. It shows that you're being present and that you're in the now. So for your box for this one, it says we can treat all social networks the same, and you can't, because if you do that, again, you're falling along the lines of having a presence versus being present. The next sin is envy. This is when a person lacks another's superior quality and desires it or wishes that the other individual did not have these qualities. So there's an example in the book where the author had a profile picture and he never changed his profile picture to a filter or never added a sticker to a current cause that was happening. And because of this, he received a lot of messages. Now, with envy, this is typically done through change, through guilt, or through pressure. It's a lot of people are pushing this on top of others, and which is kind of like the questions that he received. He mentions that just because he does not participate in something, it does not mean that you lack the support of the cause. So the type of questions that he received were the ones that were like, how come you haven't changed your profile picture? Are you going to? Why haven't you already done this? And just things along those lines. And there's a time where these questions became pretty persistent for him. And persistence can be good, but in other cases it turns into annoyance, like it did for this one. Or another side to envy, where you're wanting something, you're desiring, and you wish that you had certain qualities. So with this, you'll see companies and individuals that are really thriving with their platforms and have really achieved just great things. They're the top of this status. They have the largest fan base, or so on and so forth. And you find yourself in a place where you're saying, how come they have this and I don't? And why do they have it? And how can I get it? So instead of resenting other success, try learning from it. So look at these platforms and these accounts and see where you can go with your own goals and how you can get there from learning from what they have done. Box 4 for envy says, let's hijack whatever is trending, hashtag sale, hashtag Clooney. So this goes back onto pushing through guilt and through pressure. This is saying even though you may not know what the situation is or you're not aware of the concept, you're still joining this bandwagon because you feel that pressure and guilt from the audience and the environment around you. With wrath, the next sin, the main thing with social media and platforms is that it's very reaction based. So the thing that comes to mind for me initially is Twitter with Twitter Wars, or YouTube with the drama channels that react to certain things. The author mentioned it takes 1,000 tweets to build your reputation, but only one to change it. There are people that with wrath that do it out of spite or try to create controversy, and others are disguised as trying to be helpful. And he uses an example as grammar police in the book. These are people that try to publicly reprimand instead of assisting or show praise or approval. Um, your box for wrath says, "Why is no one engaging? Let's shout louder." And again, these are the people that shout louder are the ones who are trying to create that controversy. They don't really think about the actions that they're doing or the actions that they're about to do. They do this because they want to provoke something out of you. The next sin is lust. And with this one, you're going to have people that are different. You're just going to have certain qualities that others won't have. Everyone is their own unique individual self. And with this, because there is so much diversity, everyone's trying to put out their best selves and what they want the world to see and the image they want people to have of them. So with this, most people, they try to pick their most flattering profile picture or try to create a platform with the perfect image. And an example of this could be Instagram with the influencers on there. Everything you post and do will represent your company and more specifically you as an individual. So with your box for lust, let's pay for followers to pretend to like our brand. And the key word with this is pretend. Again, lust, you're trying to create an image that you want people to know, not the image that you may already have. You're putting things out there that may not necessarily be you, and it might be. I don't know who's to say, but for the most part, lust, it's pretending and it's creating an image. Lastly, pride, or it can also be viewed as vanity. With pride, there's a difference in pride and then having true pride. And true pride, these are things such as accomplishments or achievements. So a lot of people post about their family, maybe promotions, or for us, for example, a lot of students, they tend to post about when they receive scholarships. Um, with this, it is kind of like bragging, and that's okay to do that. It can, again, it's good to brag about yourself. It builds your self-esteem and self-motivation, but it's also important to remember to do it within moderation. So don't constantly brag about yourself. Don't only post on your platforms things that are centered around you. You want to show that, again, that you're current and that you're putting in an effort into what you're doing and that you care. So you need to show stuff about others' accomplishments. Don't just retweet or post something that has you, again, post something maybe about another company that's kind of similar to you or completely different to you, or an individual as well. You need to show also your brilliance and like expertise in your platforms. Again, don't just put your opinion. You need to put things that like show tips that you thought you found were helpful or something that you think could be a useful tool. Your box for this says, "We are awesome. Please retweet." Again, you can mention that you're awesome. That's fine. It's okay to do that. But be mindful of how many times you do it and when is the time to do it. So, with that, all 7 deadly sins mentioned, and with these 7 deadly sins, if you're doing all of them or some of them, they can get in the way of breaking that barrier down between your audience and you as a company or individual. What is the correct way for marketers to use social media?
Our beloved professor, Dr. Foster, has made the point that marketers fear a lack of control. This is one reason why social media can scare a marketer. They like to control the message, but in reality, they never really had control to begin with. The reaction or opinion has always been up to the consumer. The consumer just can respond immediately now, and because of this, their voice is much louder than it once was.
As we all should know by now, negative things can happen when anyone becomes active on social media. Does everyone here know what a troll is? And no, I don't mean the mythical creatures that we think live under a bridge. On the internet, especially social media, a troll is someone who posts controversial, inflammatory, irrelevant, or off-topic content. Their intent is to get an emotional response or other disrupting information to a group off-topic. Many times, trolls are trying to get a response on social media to get fame or recognition by piggybacking off of others. Chapter 25 of Unmarketing highlights a few different ways to break out of the troll spiral, which can be detrimental if it's handled the wrong way. These are DFFT, or don't feed the troll, don't expose them, carefully selecting who gets emotional currency, and realizing the purpose behind the trolling. If you do not feed a feral animal, what will it do? It'll get some food somewhere else. This is the same for trolls. If you don't give in to their bait, they'll be more than likely apt to go somewhere else to find someone to harass with their meaningless content. Secondly, don't expose them. By exposing them, not only are you feeding their bad habit, but you're also exposing them to all the followers you post content for. It's much easier to move past their post and let their content move on to another account. As a marketer, you also have to choose who gets your emotional energy, and you should not squander it on trolls. Your followers are worth their emotional energy being spent, not someone who could care less whether your business is flourish or not. Lastly, realize where the troll is aiming. More than likely, a troll is posting meaningless content because they are mad at the world or have nothing productive to do with their time. Do they truly know you? Then why are they even relevant? Only reward conducive content, which is more than likely going to be posted by your followers. Constructive criticism is always a plus, but there are some who try to thrive on being online and being a jerk. They're not worth the waste of time or the energy. Don't acknowledge the hate, and continue to post great content at the highest level possible so that you can grow your business.